So I want to tell you a story about your health. Boring, right? You might not even think about it, but every time you go to the range, you might be practicing preventative medicine. We're talking about hearing protection today. And you should be wearing hearing protection at least. If you aren't, you're doing it wrong. So this video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about something that's very, very important, the hearing protection that I currently am running. I'm using a new set of SoundGear Phantoms by Starkey, a hearing aid company. And this isn't really a sexy shooting topic. This is just something that I'm passionate about because it's important for the longevity of your ears. You only get so many cochlear hair cells, so you might as well protect them. These earbuds were provided to me by the manufacturer for test and evaluation, and I've had over about a month to formulate my opinions on them. And I'll level with you up front. This is a very positive review. These have been an awesome piece of gear that I just picked up.
Nice.
So let's talk a little bit about the process. Pros, cons, and everything that goes into getting a set of these custom molded ear protection. So we'll start at the beginning. I was approached by an audiologist who knew that I was into shooting, and he was interested in getting me a pair of these SoundGear Phantoms. He knew that I shot shotgun, rifle, pretty much anything, and he knew that I shot a lot. So what better person to try out a new set of Hearing Pro than me? I've used Peltors, the Peltor Range Guard, the cheapies that cost like $50. I've used Sordins before. I even have a set of OpsCore Amps with the NFMI earplugs, and those are incredible. But I'll say the SoundGears have a lot going for them, despite the price, which we will talk about. I have always been interested in in-ear style hearing protection, custom molded hearing protection, because as you well know, if you use over ears, oftentimes that rifle stock will bump up against your hearing protection. And we'll demonstrate a couple different types of stocks with these ear protection throughout the video today. So step one, you have to go get molds done. That may be a little bit more challenging for certain people in areas where there isn't an audiologist available to do that. But if you have an audiologist around, they're always willing to make ear molds. And I believe that the ear molds, if you're buying these, are included in the price of getting these earbuds. So first and foremost, you need to see an audiologist. They're quick and easy. It takes probably about 5-10 minutes to get molded. If you have not had that done before, it can be a little bit strange and uncomfortable with a bunch of essentially epoxy going into your ear canal, but it's so quick that it didn't really bother me at all. So they sent off the molds, and Starkey quoted about 2 weeks for turnaround in terms of getting the earbuds back to me. And they were right. So this was true. You can't always trust when a company says a timeline, especially for a custom-made device. But in this case, they were to my audiologist for pickup within under 2 weeks. So first thing I noticed when I took them out of the box, fit was excellent. They were super, super comfortable. They were perfectly molded for my ears. So this is kind of like a subscription, or a prescription, I should say, for glasses. They have to be for you. Nobody else can put these in, at least not comfortably. So these are going to be your ear protection. They're not anybody else's. But they were super comfortable because they were custom molded for me. I also noticed that when I was wearing them for extended periods of time, I had less sweating on my ears, especially since it's been July and August here and very, very hot and sweaty in the Midwest. I also noticed that there weren't any pressure points, especially for a person like me who wears glasses. Sometimes the over-ear protection can compress onto my ears and feel really uncomfortable after even an hour or two, and I have to take the ear cups off just to let my ears, number one, air out, and also decrease pressure on any given point. And then the other thing I noticed that we talked about was less interference with the stock or cheek weld whenever you're using a shotgun or a rifle. So we'll try to clip in some B-roll of different types of stock so you can see that. They also came with a nice carrying case that you can see here. It's got a little carabiner that you can clip it right onto your range bag if you like. They came with a charger that holds extra charge, which is nice. So if your earbuds run down in terms of their charge, you just pop them in the box for a little bit and they'll get a little bit of extra charge. They also had several cords for charging, and they came with this lanyard as well, which I shortened it a little bit so it'd fit appropriately, and I could take them out and put them back in as needed. They are Bluetooth compatible, which is nice. So unlike some of the cheaper hearing protection, like the RangeGuard Peltors, you can sync these to your phone, and they are actually FDA approved as hearing aid devices through Starkey, which is the company that works with SoundGear to make these. The Bluetooth quality is okay. Would I want to listen to music on it on a regular basis as my only source of earbuds for music? Probably not. But in terms of what you get, it's nice because you can take phone calls, you can stream music, you can, if you're watching a YouTube clip, it'll pipe into the ear protection. So that's nice that it has that added functionality. This does bring us to the first bump in the road with these, though. So when I got the devices, the right earbud would sync appropriately with my phone. It's much like a hearing aid, so you access it, at least in an iPhone, through the accessibility menu. And the right one would sync to Bluetooth, but the left one would not. The two would pair to each other, and I could tell that because whenever I switched modes, they both would say which mode they were in. So I know that they were talking to each other, but the left one, for whatever reason, was not talking to my cell phone. And I talked with the people at SoundGear quite a bit about it. We tried a couple different things to try to reset them. Didn't work with whatever we tried, didn't work. So they said, you know what, we'll give you a shipping label, we'll RMA it, send it back to us, we'll get it back to you in another 2 weeks. So after I sent it out to them, to my surprise, it came back in like 7 to 10 days. It was actually faster than the two weeks that they quoted, and they worked. So good on them. They took care of it right away. They were super responsive in terms of customer service, even for a small inconvenience like that. I don't really listen to a ton of music at the range when I'm shooting, because usually I'm listening for the shot timer, or I'm filming for the YouTube channel. So that isn't a functionality that I use all that often, but why not have all of the functionality out of the box? So I'm glad that they fixed it for me. Once the RMA thing was done, I've had them for another 3 or 4 weeks now, and they've just been awesome. So let's talk about their NRR, or noise reduction rating. For these, it is 22 decibels. So for your standard Peltor range guards, these guys, I think these are 21 decibels. And NRR is kind of a funny thing. Is it a true rating of how much you're reducing the sound? I'm not exactly sure. There's probably, depending on what you read on the internet, you could even consider 50% of the NRR decibel rating to be accurate. So for something that's 22, you might get 11 decibel reduction out of it, depending on your fit. But to be honest, with their active noise canceling that comes through the earbuds, plus you're plugging your canal as well for essentially a conductive block, they do better than most over-ears that I've experienced. And that may be for a couple reasons. Their active noise canceling may be a little bit better. The other thing is you're not bumping your stock into the hearing protection and breaking that seal like you can oftentimes with over-ear hearing protection. So they're rated for 22 NRR, which is great. That's kind of industry standard. The sound quality through these is comparable to any of the other over-ear hearing protection that I've tried, to the Peltors, to the OpsCores, to the Sordins. So they all work about the same in terms of sound quality coming in. In terms of how uncomfortable loud rifle and shotgun shots are, there's the one thing that I noticed that was better than the over-ears. So I don't know what it is about these. but they really do a good job with long guns. And maybe it's the ear cup bumping up against the stock, maybe it's the active noise protection, maybe it's that there's a little bit more NRR than a standard Peltor range guard, but they just sound better when you're shooting a rifle. It's not as bitey. In fact, in the past, I would sometimes put foamies underneath a set of over-ear electronic hearing protection, especially if we're under an awning or in an enclosed space or in bays that are enclosed. If you have a loud gun, sometimes that could bite through hearing protection. And I have not noticed that at all with these in-ear buds, which is awesome. The other thing with muffs, if you're indoors, you could potentially put muffs over these, which is nice because then you get added protection on top of it. Kind of like the OpsCore amps that have the NFMI plugs that you can put in your ears. It's an extra couple decibel protection, especially in enclosed spaces. So they do also boast 30 decibels of sound amplification or gain in the environment, which means that you can hear your range timer, you can hear range commands, say if you're at a shooting competition. The one thing I will note is sometimes, depending on the setting, it is more difficult to hear steel hits, especially very far away steel hits, whereas the range guard Peltors, I don't have as much of an issue hearing the steel hits, but not a big deal. You can actually go to the mute mode with these, and then you can hear the steel just fine. So not a huge issue. These are adjustable. There are little volume wheels on the sides, just like some in-ear hearing aids. So that's nice. You don't have to go into an app to adjust the hearing or the sound thresholds coming into the devices. Sometimes some other devices, you have to actually go into your app to adjust that, which is a little bit annoying, especially if on the fly you have to pull out your phone and do all that kind of stuff. So it's nice that they have that. In terms of their sound settings, there are 4 different settings that these offer. One is standard noise protection, so just general use. You could use them mowing the lawn. You could use them out if you're using power tools or something like that. The second mode is called their max compression mode, and that's designed for things like shooting, very, very high decibel activities, and I found that they're very, very good for shooting. I don't mind any of the different settings except for the third setting, which is a little bit too much for me. That's actually a high frequency hearing loss setting. So if you have pre-existing high frequency hearing loss, it amplifies the higher pitches. So for me, I don't really have hearing loss, and we'll show a clip of my audiogram, a still shot of my audiogram here. But that I feel like is a little bit uncomfortable for me because it's amplifying the high-pitched stuff too much. And then the fourth mode is mute, so you can just cut off any incoming sound, and it will still keep the active noise cancellation. So really, really good, say, if you're trying to shoot steel and having a hard time hearing the steel. They have 23 hours of use for each of the earplugs, so you can wear them all day at the range and have no problems with them going out on you. And like I said, if you've worn them for several sessions in a row, you just pop them in the little charging case. This does hold its own charge, so you're able to charge them on the fly if you need to, if you're, say, at a course for a weekend or whatever and forgot your cord. They have excellent fit, excellent comfort, they have excellent noise reduction, excellent customer service, which I was very surprised with how responsive they were. It was really, really good. Overall, it's an excellent product. So as with everything on the Pop Doctor, we talk about the good and we talk about the bad. So we talked about the RMA issue, sending it back. I wouldn't even call that a mark on the experience because they were so responsive with it. One drawback is that you have to have molds done. So that's an inconvenience for some people if it's hard to find an audiologist or someone who can do that for you close. The second is the cost. So like I said, these were provided to me by the manufacturer for test and evaluation. I was very fortunate. When I went in to say, how much do you need me to pay for these? Are we going to do cost? Are we going to do the MSRP? And they said, you know what, this is a promotional item for you. So they cost $1,600. So that seems like a lot, but they are FDA approved as hearing aid devices. In addition to that, I looked up some other similar devices with custom ear molds like Harrison Sons. Some of those go for $3,200. What are they doing that these are not? That is just insane. $3,200 for a pair of hearing protection. So, I mean, $1,600 still sounds pretty steep, but if you think about it, it's like getting a pair of glasses. It's specifically for you. So I think for a custom set of ear molds that does a lot for your shooting, you can't beat it. It has been a super positive experience. I've run these at a competition. I've run these for a whole weekend with the buddies shooting out at the cabin. You may have seen them in some of the previous videos. And I plan on taking them to a course at HK coming up in the fall here. So they have been awesome, and I don't have anything really negative to say about them. They're just so great. So far, I've used them at an air show. I've used them while using power tools, shooting. I mean, they just haven't disappointed me at all. So a single gunshot, usually between 140 and 160 decibels, depending on the caliber, if it's suppressed or not suppressed, can cause permanent hearing loss. A single gunshot, exposure to a single gunshot. So why wouldn't you do something to protect your hearing? If it's not these, then get some over-ear range guards or whatever. Even some cheapy non-electronic hearing aid or hearing protection should be something in your range bag. You should always be protecting your hearing. You only get so many hair cells. If they're gone, they're gone. There's nothing as of right now other than a cochlear implant or hearing aids that can fix hearing loss. So you should definitely invest in something. Also suppressors. That's why they're on the table here. This helps too. So in conjunction, it is really, really protective of your hearing. Trust me, I may or may not be a doctor. This is Pop Doctor signing off. Go get some hearing protection. Seriously, go get some hearing protection.